Greetings, good folks. How are you? I am Dr. Lee McBride Nesbitt, and today I come to you with a question. My question for you today is: how ready are you to show up? Question is, what do you mean by that, Dr. Lee? Well, today I want to talk to you a little about psychological wealth. For some individuals, that is self care. The psychological wealth is the big picture, but we're not talking about that today. We're going to just focus on what most individuals consider as self care. Okay. So this past year, we have been marked with a whole bunch of chaos. We've had global pandemic, we had racial reckoning. Amongst these mass scale events, there have been innumerable personal ones as well. We've lost individuals and loved ones. And so we have this intimate level of grief that's deep inside of us. We've had the stress of magnified unemployment, whether that is with us or individuals that we are related to or individuals we are connected to. We've had to endure anxiety from all these environmental disasters from a widespread perspective. When I think about this, um, I did a little research and I found that, this past year there has been 450,000 more individuals right in the United States that has considered suicide, more so than the year prior. And there has been 57% of adults experiencing mental challenges who are not receiving treatments, more so than it was the year prior. So when I think of that, my question again is, how actually ready are you to show up, right? In this past decade, wow. And in our looming future, caring for ourselves has really turned into a critical movement. Being able to care for ourselves right now is vital. We are, or we should be more focused on nurturing ourselves mentally, nurturing ourselves physically, in real and in lasting ways, more so now than ever before. The way that we do it should be our way of life. Understanding more clearly that self care, what self care is, and the ways that it is evolving gives us insight into how we might practice self care. Because self care is evolving, and self care is something that we can practice in our daily lives. We can practice self-care in our daily lives using, holistic approaches to healing our mind, healing our body, healing our spirit. And to do that, we have to take ourselves into account. We have to be able to identify our needs. So again, I ask you, how ready are you to show up? Can you identify what your needs are? When it comes to self care, your mental needs, your physical needs, your spiritual needs, the needs in terms of relationship, in terms of family, uh, career, growth, self development, professionally. There's just so many needs, so many things that we can activate when we are practicing self care in our daily lives. And my question is, how ready are you to show up? Simply put, there are many helping professionals that can help you to identify what your need is in terms of how you're going to show up, how you're going to embrace self-care daily. And you have helping professionals such as counselors, coaches, educators, you have therapists out here, you have licensed clinical social workers, you have healthcare workers, and all of these individuals' primary focus is on facilitating mental, emotional, and spiritual well being and healing. These individuals seek to accomplish this from a perspective that centers in Well, for me, for other coaches and individuals that I know, they seek to accomplish this from a perspective centered on spirituality and growth and transformation and healing. And this aims to address uh, generational trauma, which is particularly, in women. And I think of self care as being rooted in our sacred ways of being, right? Trying to return to that whole person. Sometimes, you know, in different elements of our life, we lose a little of ourselves. Just sometimes. Yeah, we may not be on 10 in every area of our life. So that is what I mean when I say return to the whole person, full, living a full, prosperous life. You and I, we have been taught to compartmentalize. We compartmentalize our mental health. We separate that from our spirituality. We separate that from physical health. And so self care really is about how do I bring all these parts of me together as one, as my whole, as my whole self, so that I can be well. So I ask again, how ready are you to show up? Right? Okay, and this last element here, when it comes to the self care that I want to talk about, is our consideration of the responsibilities that you as an individual have to our communities, to the communities in which we each belong. So whether that is a person of color or someone who is black, someone who's brown, someone who's white, whether you are uh, female, male, whether you are a member of the LGBTQ community, if we are not well, then it's going to be like really, really difficult for us to show up for others, especially in this time. Especially in this time, it's going to be difficult for us to show up in the way that the world needs for us to show up. So often I speak about, building, creating, leaving legacy, um, leaning into our strengths and maximizing our impact and monetizing that intellect. Because for me, all of that is, that is leaving legacy. And that is kind of hard to do. That is going to be difficult for you to show up in these different ways, the way that the world needs for you to show up if you are not ready to show up. So, my final question for you today is, how ready are you to show up?